Hello, ladies and gentlemen, theys and thems, everybody around the world watching. Welcome to the channel. I am coming out of paternity leave to do this quick little video today. So yesterday on Twitter, and for you guys, it might be a couple days from now because I don't know when this is going to go up, but I saw this little trend go up for Fire Emblem's 36th anniversary. It was people posting these grid thingies where they just, like, as you can see, there's categories, favorite game, best story, and such, and would place their game that matched that category within the square. And I thought instead of just sharing it on Twitter, which is a little bit boring for me as a content creator, I should make a video and kind of share what all my favorite Fire Emblem games are and why they are that. I thought it could be a fun little exercise for viewers to get to know me a little bit better if you've watched mostly my solo runs or my other content and haven't really watched my streams where people tend to ask me these questions and I just answer them. Well, now's your chance. You get to know a little bit more of Kratos here. And I know I wasn't supposed to post videos during my paternity leave, but I decided to make a little bit of an exception. I'm 20 days into fatherhood now, about 20 days, and having a blast, but I've been missing making content. So here we are. And by the way, for those who have been missing the content, solo runs are going to take a little longer to start again, but other things should be coming up on the channel in a week or two. I think it's 2 to 3 weeks from now. Basically, I recorded a whole series before my child was born, and it's going to be going up like bi-weekly starting a couple weeks. So stay tuned for that. So if you missed the Kratos content, you're going to have more content. But enough preamble. It's time to get to today's video, and let's start categorizing, doing this grid thingy. Also, the link's going to be in the description below. Whoever had this idea, I know there's a Twitter user who started the whole ball, and I forgot what their username was, and I can't seem to track it down. So if it's you, if you're watching, let me know in the comments, and I'll pin your comment just to give you a little bit of credit. The link to that is going to be in the description if you want to participate, and let me know in the comments, or you can join the Discord, which is also below in the description, and you can share yours in the Discord with fellow community members. So let's get right into it now. Enough dilly-dallying, enough chatting. And I think for the first question, favorite Fire Emblem game, it's not gonna be a surprise. I don't think it's gonna be a surprise. If you've watched this channel, I think it's a pretty clear that it's Sacred Stones. Sacred Stones is my favorite Fire Emblem game. I've played it at this point, I don't know how many times anymore. Probably like hundreds. And it's a fantastic game. I love it. It's my favorite Fire Emblem game. I don't know if it's the best Fire Emblem game, but it's the one that's closest and dearest to my heart, which was an obvious answer. For best story, that one's a little bit more complicated. I'm kind of two minds. Two of my favorite Fire Emblem games in terms of story are FE4 and Radiant Dawn. Not Radiant Dawn, Path of Radiance. Now, even Radiant Dawn's up there, but I think Path of Radiance is a little bit more concise and clearer themes and a little bit more like, I think it's a better, more contained narrative, if that makes any sense. So for me, it's either Path of Radiance or FE4, which, FE4 is a very like dark themes and maybe sometimes they're not handled in the best way, but I do think it's a fantastic piece of storytelling. But I think this one's a little harder for me. I'll be honest. It's one or the other, and I think I'm gonna go FE4 for now. I might switch it out later as I talk about more games. We'll see. We'll have to see. When it comes to favorite cast, this is easy. It's Radiant Dawn for me. I love the Dawn Brigade. It's just in general, and I love FE9's cast. Just most of the characters in that cast are some of my favorites in the game, in the franchise. Sorry, and I just think that Radiant Dawn adds to the cast and adds in a positive way. So I think that's my favorite cast. Has to be the Tellia's games. Have some of the best characters in the series, in my opinion. Biggest personal impact. I'm gonna go again with Sacred Stones. Sacred Stone's gonna make a couple repeats. Biggest personal impact for Sacred Stones for many reasons. It was my first game. It's my favorite game. I've played it over and over again, but also like it's enabled me to have this channel, which is a dream come true. Like, this is my job and I love it, and I'm forever grateful. And it's kind of all thanks to having played that game when I was like 8 years old. Gotten it for Christmas. Played it. My parents bought it for me on my Game Boy Advance SP. I know I was a cool kid. I had the SP. I wasn't a Game Boy Advance scrub. I was a cool kid. But jokes aside, I think it's had the biggest personal impact on me, just from it's not really like from the game impacting me and that like the story like changed me or whatever, but just what it enabled for me, is fantastic. So, and it's surreal, and I could be happier. So yeah, we're gonna go with Sacred Stones here. Best combat. Okay, this one's tough for me because I'm of two minds. I enjoy the simplicity. Sorry, and best combat, I'm gonna go like, for me, it's more best gameplay. You know, in Fire Emblem, I think this is like the regular grid.fun, but like best gameplay, I would say like probably like is best combat. I have two minds. I've always said that like the GBA games have a special place in my heart because like the simplicity of their combat design is just very easy to approach. It's fun, and in my opinion, it's very well designed from the standpoint that simplicity sometimes is the best way to go. So a part of me wants to put a GBA game there, or even like Telia's games where they kind of iterate on that GBA style with added skills and stuff. So, you know, that simplicity has always been a lot of fun, and rescue dropping in GBA has always been a fun mechanic. But I will have to say that recently I played Conquest, and while I have my problems with Conquest, I thought the gameplay in general was awesome. The pair-ups, the guard gauge, the reclassing, the skills being, some of them being really, really interesting and kind of like baked into the character's design, just felt really good. But also, when I think of good gameplay for me, I think of Fire Emblem Engage. You know, that's a game where the rings, the skills, all that, there's so much layers to it that I love. So this is gonna be a hard one for best combat, but I think recency bias wins right now because while playing Conquest, the one thing I could think of was constantly like, this is like the amount of things you can do in this. The difficulty level was like really high, and it worked well with the way the combat kind of feels in that game, and I really like just thought like there's so much more you can do in this game, and just, you know, I think it's because I haven't played Engage in a little bit though, because I do really like the rings. There's nothing like hitting a 4 or 5 like line of units with Sigurd's skill in Engage. Nothing hits like that in the history of Fire Emblem. It's a special feeling. But I'm gonna go with Conquest for recency bias. Overhated for this one's super easy for me. It's like either Engage or FE6, but I'm gonna go with Engage simply because I think Engage is like one of those games that gets talked about like it's the worst story ever told, but in reality, like, Conquest exists, so I don't know. And to me, like, the story is just kind of mid. It's not great, it's not awesome, but it's like, it's just kind of this nothing burger, I would call it. So I think it gets a lot of flack for that, and I think it just catches a lot of strays for that. So I'm gonna put Engage in overhated. And even FE6, I often people here talk negatively about FE6, and I really do enjoy FE6. My recent Iron Man was a lot of fun. And I think a lot of people just like treat FE6 as an afterthought often, and it's a game that's got some depth to it that you would not expect. But I'm gonna go with Engage because it's always like the one that people bring up. So I think overhated goes to Engage. Underrated though, underrated for me, this one's tough. I'm gonna go with like probably games that like people don't talk about enough, in my opinion. And there's two that come to mind. Well, there's yeah, like I feel like either people love like Echoes or they don't like it at all. But I don't think that works really well for underrated. I think for underrated, you know what I'm gonna do? Might be a cop out. But I'm gonna go FE1. FE1 for underrated, and I know that's a weird pick, but I will say that I have never finished FE1, but I've played like portions of it for different reasons. You know, eventually you might see a video about it. But I've played it, and I think it's a simple game in terms of like creating the foundation of what Fire Emblem is today. It really lays the groundwork, but I think like people don't talk about it enough and don't play it enough because it's, well, not necessarily readily available, but also like, you know, it's the oldest game. And it's like, there's some like clunky design there from being an old game, which happens quite often with these older games. But I think it's very underrated. There's a lot of fun maps. There's a lot of good ideas. For example, like I think that like one of the maps that I really like is one of those early castle maps. I can't remember the chapter exactly, but you know, where you can use Marth to steal, and I just think it's a really nicely designed map to teach the player about like a lot of the mechanics in the game. So it's a very underrated entry in the franchise simply because it's the first one, so people overlook it because like, it's an old NES game, you know, I won't play it. I think it's underrated. I think it doesn't get enough credit because for the foundation it led for the entire franchise. So you know what, I'm gonna put that. Maybe it's a cop out, I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Overrated. You guys are gonna, if you know me, you're gonna know this is Three Houses. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to all the Three Houses lovers out there. It's not a bad game. When I say it's overrated, I'm not saying it's a bad game. I recently finished a playthrough, finally, because I got the game when it first came out. I played like up until the time skip. Never really got into it. Never really cared about the mechanics, the characters, and all that stuff. And I recently replayed it, and I told myself I have to finish at least one route. And it was better than my initial thought, but I'm not going to say too much about that because I do want to make a video on Three Houses before Fortune's Weave drops. But I will say, people were saying, well, no, but like stick with it. You're going to love the story. The story is awesome. The story is great. And I'm like, yeah, outside of the first part where there's like a mystery to it and stuff like that, the story isn't that good. I think it's like, it's better than a lot of like other Fire Emblem games, but I think it might be oversold by people. I think some people might oversell this game a little bit, but I still don't think it's a bad game. I just think it's a little oversold. Needs a remake. We're doing FE4. I'm not kidding around. FE4 needs a remake. We know it's in the works. Actually, we don't know. We don't know anything. It's all rumors at this point. But it needs a remake. FE4, one of my favorite games in the franchise. And I think it does need a remake. I think we need to see it. I think people need to play this. So yeah, needs a remake. FE4. I think that's the contender here. It's the most obvious one, of course, but yeah, there it is. First Fire Emblem. I already talked about that. Fire Emblem Sacred Stones. I got this for Christmas when I was 8 on my SP. Fantastic time. Played the shit out of it because it was the only game I owned, and still playing it to this day. So first Fire Emblem Sacred Stones. Favorite protagonist is going for me. For me, going to Radiant Dawn, I think. And it's a little bit of a cop-out answer. I like Ike, and I know the protagonist for Radiant Dawn is technically Micaiah. I love Micaiah. She's like one of my favorite protagonists, but the fact that it's because it has two of my favorite protagonists is why I'm putting it there. It's like Ike and Micaiah, and I guess Lynch is a little bit of a protagonist too. But like, I like both. I like them both. So cop-out answer, perhaps. Fantastic game. Favorite antagonist. This one's easy. It's Leon. I think the personal story of him with the twins. Very often in Fire Emblem, you see these kind of like cartoonishly evil final bosses. Like thinking of Sombra, thinking of in Conquest. I forget who. The king, whatever. King Garen. And FE4 would have a contender here too. But there's kind of a like easy like tendency to go to like these cartoonishly overly evil characters. And I think like Leon is a great antagonist, and I guess like the Demon King is the real like antagonist. But I think it's the where the story kind of shines in this game is that personal kind of connection with the twins and Leon, and him trying to do the right thing, and then like falling to corruption and ending up doing all the wrong things. Yeah, I think that one here takes the cake for me for sure. Best soundtrack. So I'm gonna do a little confession here. I'm really ass at like remembering soundtracks. I tend to not like pay attention to them enough in video games, and Fire Emblem is no exception. I know like the game because I often listen to some songs while I'm streaming. The franchise has phenomenal songs in them, like just through and through in all the games. But I don't really tend to focus on soundtracks too much, so I'm not the best connoisseur for this. So my answer might suck. But I'm actually gonna go FE4 because it's the one game where there's a few songs I remember, and I'm thinking of the desert map. I'm thinking of chapter 3. I'm thinking of chapter 2. Like some of these songs are very groovy, like very like there's something about like the map themes that are just like they're earworms for me, and they're like one of the rare games that I remember the songs, right? It's gonna be FE4. Best support conversation. This one's tough. It's definitely not one of the newer games because I've been very critical. There's too many. And I think that dilutes the quality of support conversations if you can support everybody with everybody all the time. I think it just dilutes it a little bit too much. It's not going to be Engaged. It's not going to be Three Houses. It's not going to be Conquest for sure. Awakening is funny because I never like really finished Awakening. I played like a portion of it, enjoyed it, but never ended up finishing it. But I think for the GBA ones, there's some really good ones in there. But I think for me, it goes down to FE9. I think FE9 is one of those games where there's like real growth in the support. I'm thinking of like Jill in particular, where she has like these supports with Leith. The integration of supports, like if you don't have her A rank with Mist and she fights her dad, she like, you lose that character. I think like Fire Emblem Path of Radiance has like some phenomenal supports because there's some definitely flawed characters in that game that kind of grow within their support conversation. And there's of course Ike and Soren, You ship those two, and can't have them without can't have that ship without the supports. Am I right? But yeah, I think like it's got some of the best support conversations in the game, which is a shame given that Radiant Dawn removed all support conversations after that. Knowing like what we could have had, it is what it is. So favorite non-lord is a funny one because it often fluctuates for me. Often fluctuates between like a few characters. There's always an FE9, FE10 characters. Like Meg is a character I love. Lowen's a character I love. I love sillier, goofier characters. I think I traditionally like gravitate towards those characters. Cormag, I'm thinking Garrick. But I'm going to go with a recency bias here. Recently, I did an Iron Man run of FE6. Recently. And I fell in love with Boars. Just the character, everything about him. The jawline, the perfect jawline, the haircut, the flawless golden armor, and the fact that he carried the Iron Man on his back like a damn champion. So I'm gonna go with Boars, FE6 Boars. For some reason, right now he's top of mind. He's topical for me, so I think it's this. But this is a very fluctuating question. Like, what's your favorite non-lord character? Will change from like one playthrough to another. Like, it's often like one character I love in the games I played the most recently. This could have easily been Lowen. By the way, Lowen has always been one of my all-time favorites. Even Panette from Engage could have been there. Etier from Engage. There's a few. I don't hate the Engage cast. If Radiant Dawn didn't exist, I think maybe the cast of Engage would go there, but who knows? Turn my brain off. That's an interesting one because obvious answer is FE8. I've played FE8 a million times. I can probably play it with blindfolded. Also, fun challenge idea. Play a FE8 blindfolded. Probably FE8, but also probably Engage just so has that turn my brain off. Like, I don't want to listen to the story. I just want to play. There's that quality to it, and I think it really is either or for me. But I'm gonna go FE8 simply because like it's a different turn my brain off. It's turn my brain off because I've played it so much. And it's not a turn my brain off because like I hate it or like the story's bad. It's just like turn my brain off because I played it so much I don't even need to think when I play it, which is interesting. Most hated. So some of you may know this story, some of you may not. There's a particular Fire Emblem game that made me stop playing Fire Emblem for, gosh, years. Basically, when it came out, I bought it for the DS and played it, hated it so much so that I entirely stopped playing the franchise and getting the newer games. Which is why my DS era Fire Emblem journey is like recently I've been going back to these games and like playing them for the first time. Thinking of Birthright, Conquest, Awakening and stuff like that. Like I've gone back to try to play those because playing Fire Emblem Shadow Dragons was genuinely such a fucking horrifying experience when I was like younger that I stopped playing the franchise. And some people may thought I was going to put Thracia there because I famously rage quit Thracia on stream. Very funny. I know. There's some bullshit things in Thracia, but you know, I'm going to give it another try again. Shadow Dragons is just one of those games that I just really disliked as a kid. And to be fair, I've never touched it again since. And a lot of people have told me that with the challenge run mindset and hard 5 and all these things, there are genuinely interesting things to do in this game that could be fun, that I could maybe connect with now as I'm older and some of the mechanics don't bother me as much, such as like the generic units that you get if you lose too many units. That's something that bothered me because back in the days I was with the mindset that you need to get every character. Now I am very liberal, if you've watched any of my Iron Man, with killing off characters if I need to. So I'm gonna put Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon there for now because goddamn that game stinks for me. One and Done is super interesting because I tend to play Fire Emblem games over and over again, and you might think that I put Three House there because I'm like, I didn't really like it that much. But the reality is I'm gonna go back to finish another route of Three Houses because it's grown on me a little bit. FE7 like might fit in One and Done in a way, but I've played this game many times, so for me it's not really a One and Done. For some people it might be because it's quite linear, but even then there's multiple like routes with the Hector mode and stuff like that, so maybe that doesn't fit well there. For me, One and Done is really hard because I tend to play these games over and over and over again. And you know what? I'm gonna go with Birthright. Fire Emblem Birthright Fates. And you might be like, well, Kratos, you only played Conquest. Well, I'm currently playing Birthright on my DS. Between my, when my baby's asleep. Sometimes I just like to chill on my DS and play some Birthright. Because I had it for a long time. And it's going to be a One and Done. I'm not done yet. I'm still playing it. But no, I'm playing on Maddening or Lunatic. I don't remember what the highest difficulty is on this. And I'm genuinely having an easier time than hard mode Conquest. And the story is like a little bit better than Conquest, but it's not good enough to like warrant being like, damn, I should replay this because that's a fantastic story. It's still kind of garbage. Not as bad as Conquest for sure, but it's still kind of like middling for me. I'm sorry if you like Faith's story. I'm very, very sorry. I've been crapping on it, but I'm sorry. Sometimes some people have poor taste, I guess. Sorry, don't hate me. Don't hate me. You can dislike the video if I insulted you. But I think it's going to be a one and done. I think it's going to be one of those games where if I want to replay Faith, I'm going to go to Conquest because challenges, different stuff. Even try Revelations at some point, which I haven't tried, but I think Faith's going to be a one and done for me. It's never going to come back once I'm done playing it because, or Birthright, I should say, not Faith's, Birthright, specifically Birthright. Nostalgia game, again, half of this list is Sacred Stones. It's Sacred Stones because it's the only one I owned when I was a kid, except for Radiant Dawn, which I also owned a little later. Most of my Fire Emblem experience comes from like being in my later teens. So my real nostalgia game is FE8. It's like I go back to it all the time. And game everyone should play. All of them. Cop out answer. All of them. You should play all Fire Emblem games. Actually, no, that's the joke. There's probably one in there that I think. I'm so sad that FE7's not on this list anywhere, or nor is Echoes. But I don't think those fit in games. I mean, Echoes could be a game everyone should play. Because Path of Radiance is definitely, like, for me, a game everyone should play. FE4 could go in everyone should play. I'm genuinely lost who I should put there, or which game I should put there. And you know what? I'm going to put Fire Emblem Echoes. Game everyone should play. And I'll explain why. For another story, a final story. Shadow Dragons killed my love of Fire Emblem for years. The game that reignited it, the game that made me go back to play Fire Emblem, the game that got me back in the series is Echoes. I think games that everyone should play. Not because it's a fantastic game that was good enough for me to reignite my love of Fire Emblem. Therefore, I think it's good enough for everyone should play this game. Gives Echoes a spot on the list. But I think after playing Echoes, I really went back into Fire Emblem, and this channel wouldn't exist without Echoes because I would have not kept up with Fire Emblem at all. And I did because Echoes was solid enough to make me go like, damn, I should maybe recheck older entries that I missed. And the channel exists today because of it. But that is it for the Fire Emblem grid. Tell me what you think about my grid in the comments. And don't forget, if you want to go post yours in Discord, go ahead. But yeah, this is a short little fun video. I think if you enjoyed it, give it a like. But I will be back with more content in a few weeks. All recorded in advance. So stay tuned. Solo runs will be coming back as of the day this video goes up. Keep an eye on the channel the next day. I will have a poll up for the next solo run because I did promise it a few months ago for Christmas, this Christmas stream, that you guys would choose the next solo run. My baby's crying in the background. You might have heard him a couple times. Babies. The poll's going to go up tomorrow, so you guys should vote on that if you want to know which one's going to be a next solo run. You guys get to choose. So I still owed you guys that, so we're going to be coming up tomorrow. But anyways, thank you all for watching. Leave a like on the stream. I'd like to give you a huge shout out to all my members. Check out the membership button below if you want to support the channel in this time. It would help me out a lot. And thank you to my tier 2 and 3 members here on YouTube. Let me give you guys a quick shout out. Those being Brawler456, Forgotten Fox, Hirame, Case, The Wolfman, Storm Eagle, CH, Stylish, Grumpy Bear, Ripload, L Bunker, Faith, Kara, Santos Show, and Hephaestus15. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. And yeah. Bye-bye.